Hi, recently I have released an exclusive Raspberry Pi packet generator. So this is going to work out of box. All you need to do is you can just download the Raspbian OS, which it contains the pre-installed Raspberry Pi network packet generator. So this is an extremely versatile tool. If you are a student, if you are working in network software development, if you are doing some R&D, or you are doing some sort of ethical hacking and stuff like that, so please check it out. I have done an extensive video episode on the same. It is very easy to install and very easy to try it out, and unlike x86, it just works in the standard Raspberry Pi hardware, so there is no change in terms of the hardware. It is just going to work out of box. Just take the image, extract it and flash it on a micro SD card and it is good to go. So you can go through this video so that you get all the steps involved in terms of using such a tool. I'm going to link this page in the video description, so if you're interested, follow this link and then you can get Raspberry Pi packet generator. So let's get into the episode. This is my Xiaomi 3C router. This is what I do use still every day. This one is quite old by now. I remember buying this a couple of years ago. Earlier I was using a D-Link router and then it had some weird issue. Then I specifically bought this router. See, the unique thing about this router is it accepts a 5 volt DC power supply. So I can use their supplied adapter, but instead I use this improvised USB to barrel jack connector. So I personally soldered this. You must have seen in my videos I have this HP laptop. The HP laptop has a unique USB port. What I can do is that USB port, one of the USB ports will work like a power bank. So I always power this router through that laptop itself, or I can use some type of power bank, something like I have this Xiaomi power bank. I can still use this. This is a 20,000 mAh power bank. You can see there I have some couple of few more Xiaomi devices in when my phone is a Xiaomi phone. Okay, so this power bank, again, if I use this, I can use this more or less like an UPS. I can connect this port to this power bank, and in the above I can connect that DC jack to this Xiaomi router, and this can power up for up to a day or a couple of days, more or less. Okay, since it's a low consumption low power consumption device, I think I measured it once. It is going to consume, it is consuming hardly around half an amp or something. So it's not even something I can relate to Raspberry Pi. So I was quite intrigued. I thought since many days I want to take this apart and see what processor and what it contains inside. See, let's just quickly browse through its specs. You can see there, let me just Google. Yeah, you can see there, if I go here, this is the website. You can see there currently the price have dropped because this one is all 100 Mbps Ethernet ports over here. So I believe it is 100 Mbps. Yeah, DC 5 volt 1 amp, but they have not mentioned the Ethernet speed, but I remember reading their specs. If we go somewhere, learn more about, in fact this is kind of phased out. They have a newer model. You will find it somewhere here, Xiaomi Home. Under this category, I have seen this couple of months ago. Xiaomi camera. Let's try PC accessories. No, let's just try router. Yep, you can see there this is a 4C router. This is an upgraded model of that, and I believe this has a gigabit port. All the ports are gigabit Ethernet ports, or as they mentioned, this one is it can support up to 300 Mbps. Of course, technically my internet is faster than this router, but I don't mind, because 100 Mbps is more than enough as a network architect, or I can watch 1080p HD resolution videos quite comfortably. I don't see any buffering issues even at this speeds, and it is kind of more than enough for any YouTube uploads or anything like that. If I edit this video, let's assume it's around 1 GB of video, I can upload it in some couple of minutes. So even this is more than enough. But anyway, you have this option. The newer models is much more faster than this. You can see there, we can see 3C specs. So at the time of purchase, I thought maybe I can get this, or I have some agenda, maybe why not I get a Raspberry Pi and use a Raspberry Pi as a dedicated router, or I can install Pi-hole. Hope you must have heard Pi-hole, and install this in SD card. I mean, flash this on an SD card and put it in the Raspberry Pi, and we can use this as well. The advantage of this is, other than we can use this as a routing software. You can see there, other than using as a routing software, you have the added benefit that you can configure extensive firewalls and ad blocking and various other things. But you can see just like any router, it has some pre-built features like DHCP router and various other stuff. I need some PPPoE or something for my internet, and I need to authenticate and stuff. I believe even those things should be there in this stuff. So yeah, that's about it. And this thing is they are mentioning up to 300 Mbps, but one thing is its LAN Ethernet ports are 100 Mbps, which I believe I can check in Amazon specs or somewhere. That time I read the specs in the official Xiaomi website, but now looks like they have taken it out. So let's just see Xiaomi 3C router. So yeah, see, we are not getting it since it is phased out or something, so let's not much bother about Xiaomi 3C Ethernet speed. Yes, see, you can see there the WAN speed is around 300 Mbps, which is this internet side, WAN side, and the LAN side is 100 Mbps is the maximum speed of both ports. So 100 Mbps and 100 Mbps. So as if you are a beginner, generally you may not be aware. Usually these cheap routers, I mean to say, not the model is cheap or the brand is cheap. I'm saying these home routers use the data plane as the Linux kernel as a data plane, but you buy any expensive enterprise grade Cisco or Juniper routers or something, they need to use some dedicated hardware. Let it be the enterprise switches or enterprise routers, they use a dedicated hardware which does the actual job of packet processing. Hence the data plane is in the network hardware. It can be a switch core or some type of NPU or something like that, and in that case usually you will get only one port per subnet, whereas in this case it is just although there are two ports and this Wi-Fi thing, what happens is all these things are going to be a part of single subnet. So which means internally they have a switch and then they have a router sort of topology. So you can imagine it's more or less like this, which I often extensively discuss when I have sessions as well. So you can imagine like you have a small switch like this, and the switch has 2 ports. You can imagine, let's ignore the wireless part, 2 ports, and then you can imagine you have internally a router. This is a router, so everything happens in Linux kernel, so there is no question of custom hardware or something, which is the main reason I want to take this apart, so that we can have a look. It contains a MIPS processor or ARM processor. What is it all about? So it will be somewhat like this, and then it will be having this WAN side. So this is your WAN side and this is your LAN side. Okay, and then as per the specs, these 2 ports are 100 Mbps. We call generally this is as fast Ethernet, and this is, as they claim, perhaps this is 300 Mbps. So in my case, in case if I use 300 Mbps, I am not sure if each port is going to get that shared 100 Mbps, or if this end is 100 Mbps in the software, then I am going to get effectively only 100 Mbps on both the ports as well. So I am not sure what could be their internal configuration, but typically you will find some sort of a Linux bridging, and then there will be a bridge port usually, and to the bridge port they will just connect all this stuff, and this is how they generally do. So this is generally 2 Ethernet ports connected to a bridge port, and this is what it is. You can fairly do the same thing in Raspberry Pi as well, so it is quite easy. Or you can pick any old laptop or some x86. You will find many x86 systems in how to say, fanless x86 Atom something Atom processor. You will get many things like that. You will find in many Chinese websites, and yeah, you can see there is this AliExpress. You will find this type of hardware. Yep, as you can see there, you will find various general purpose hardware, and you can even pick something like this, and you can build your own router and firewall, and even I have done stuff like that for my clients. It's just not my Toffee project. Generally there are some few other stuff I have worked something like this. So you can pick anything like this, and you can do even your own DIY router or firewall. Anyway, without further ado, what we do is we just start doing this tear down, so that we can have a look inside what it contains. So this thing have no screws. Looks like I need pry this out with this tool. Let me just try it out, and looks like this I can't unscrew. There is no such provision. Yeah, this is something I can't unscrew, so I need to try with this antenna sticking out. So let's just try. There are, I don't think so, any screws beneath this. Yeah, there is some sort of a mold this thing, but yeah, there are no screws under this label as well. Something is holding back. Looks like there is a screw. Let me just quickly try. Looks like there is a screw below. Let me just get that right. Okay. Yeah, there's a screw beneath. I never thought. Yep, you can see there. Yeah, with the screw removed, it is quite easy. Yes. Yep. So I keep it aside. It's quite strange. They have provided some couple of weights, but it really don't have much any weight to it. It has some dust. Let me see if I can lift this board out. One thing we can notice is this antenna wires are soldered directly on the board, so we can't remove like we do on laptops or such wireless modules. It has some dust. Hopefully I should be able to clean that out as well. Yeah, anyway, before that what we do is we try removing this couple of screws, and we try to lift the board up. I tried by the way doing SSH access and stuff like that, but or even telnet and stuff like that, but I'm unable to do that other than their UI access. Under the board you can see there it has nothing much to it, so then it's just everything is on top of the board. It just has some passive components but nothing beyond that. So yeah, you can see there. Let me try having a look. Yeah, it has one MediaTek port and MediaTek chip and Electron Tech chip. So I'll try taking a close-up shot. Let me explore if I can get any specs about this stuff. We can do one thing. If it uses OpenWRT embedded Linux, we can have a look by visiting or checking OpenWRT stuff. Xiaomi 3C OpenWRT. We can see if any mention of this project of this router build. Yeah, looks like, see, we have that. This is the Wi-Fi of, this is the Wi-Fi model, Wi-Fi router model 3C, and you can see there MediaTek MT7628N processor at 575 megahertz. Let's just confirm. MediaTek M762.8NN. On the processor it has written as NN 2 times, but anyway, more or less this is the processor. What is this processor? This is a MIPS processor. See, that is what, if we get any SSH access or terminal access, a typical Linux access, then it will be much more interesting. We can do CPU info and stuff like that. We can get proc values through proc file system from the kernel, but we can't do that. So looks like this is the processor, and it's a MIPS processor. It's quite interesting. By the way, I have this TrueBench website. I have my own CPU benchmarking tool. If you are interested, you can download and you can benchmark your CPU, and you can submit as well. I have provided all the instructions and stuff. See, the idea is, unlike you find other benchmarking methods, I don't test multi-core performance. Say for instance, we have this Passmark CPU benchmarks. You pick any CPU, you will get multi-core and then single thread or single core performance. But in my case, since it's open source, and since this also contains the source code, you can just download, compile in any Linux system preferably, then you run it. I'll be doing in the software, I'll be doing some couple of mem sets and mem copies, so that to evaluate overall the CPU to CPU and memory interface performance. So if it has more cache, maybe we can test the cache performance as well. But other than that, since we are doing bulk mem copy mem sets, it will be testing the CPU and memory transaction. So that's the whole point. I'm not interested about testing the CPU ALU and so deriving some MIPS and other stuff. So this should represent more of a practical use case of a process, user space process without any threads. So that's what why I am talking about TrueBench is, you can see there, if you go to the home or else if you go to the download, you should able to find I have done some pre-compilation and I have released various variants or binaries for different CPU architectures, and I have done even for MIPS as well, which I have not released, I guess. MIPS version I have not released, but I have compiled once and I have tested on my Dragino board. You can come down, you can see there, this is my Dragino V2 board. This is my client's board which I got many years ago. See there, this is again can be I mean, this contains again OpenWRT, and we can use it for various network applications. You can also build some low spec router, and you can also provide certain features onto that, like some sort of a 3G router and stuff. You can have a custom hat, and then you can put a 4G module, a SIM card module, and then insert a SIM, and then you can do all sorts of things. Anyway, coming back, this also contains MIPS processor, and when I tested this, this took around 4.5 hours or something, actually comparable. You can see there, this largest green bar is the last CPU which I tested having the least amount of performance is this Dragino V2 board, which contains this MIPS processor. Rest of them are all ARM and then our x86 systems. So unfortunately I don't have any other reference MIPS system. I would have done on this if I get an access. Perhaps I will later check if I can somehow connect any serial interface or stuff like that. So I need to check with a couple of my students. I may send some photos, and I will ask them if anywhere I can tap. There looks like this is some JTAG or something. It has 4 ports. It has 4 connectors. Perhaps I can solder some riser, and then I can connect something so that I can connect some serial interface and try to get any serial access. I am not an expert in that. I need to check with one of my student who works on stuff like little bit on embedded stuff. I don't see anything in the back. See, these are the ports which are like a via stuff. It is extending all the way to the back side of this board as well. So looks like this is an entire SoC. We can quickly have a look of that processor. So I hope you can see there, this is the thing, and I am not sure whether this Xiaomi router is going to have more performance than this Dragino V2, or this is having more performance than this Xiaomi router. I am not sure, but one thing is certain, that Dragino V2 is quite fairly old hardware, but since it is tailored for multi-purpose use case, I still have a doubt that perhaps both are more or less same, or maybe a bit this thing is much faster than that. But one thing is CPU frequency. You can see that this is clocked at 575 versus this is clocked at 400 megahertz. 400 megahertz, whatever, I am not sure, but I am not sure whether this is going to correlate the performance, but again, it looks like this is a much newer system on chip than that Dragino V2 board. By the way, once I have even covered a video on that Dragino V2 board, Dragino V2 OpenWRT, the Linux channel. So perhaps I can attach in this video description so that you can have a look. See there, this is the one. This is the one which I have covered. I've also covered some couple of more devices which I have. All these are OpenWRT boards. Yep. Anyway, coming back, this thing is having 16 MB NOR flash. I think it contains the flash within the SoC itself. Okay, so outside I'm not sure what is this chip is all about. Is it RAM, memory? I have no idea. Anyway, let's just continue. RAM chip, yep. They mentioned NT5 something. Is that the one? No, it's not the one which this contains. Anyway, we can see. Let's just let me just recheck. No, this is not the one. Perhaps this is a different revision than what they mentioned here. I'm not sure. Anyway, we can go down. Yep, you can see there the pictures, it matches what you can see over here. Let me just open in this viewer. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the exact one, Eron Tech or something, but I'm not sure this is the memory chip or what it is. We can go back. Yeah, so looks like, yeah, this is the serial port. So you have this VCC, RX, ground and TX. So I think I can I can connect to this port and then I can get some sort of a serial port access. Yeah, so this uses some U-boot, looks like, as a bootloader. CPU, this thing, escalate memory size 64 MB, blah 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 blah. Yes. Yeah, nothing much to it. Sometimes you will find also certain specific modifications, and also some occasions they may also mention any GPIO pins, custom firmware for that GPIO pins and various logic and stuff. You will find those type of things with different routers, but this thing there is no mention in this OpenWRT. Moreover, this hardly has any LEDs. I mean, this has, I think, just a port LED, but and the front there is a small status LED it has. As you can see, there is a small light guide. This is coupled. Yeah, this is the light guide. You can see there. This is the light guide. It kind of glows little. Yeah, you can see there are some couple of LEDs. So this glows orange, blue, or some kind of status. But still, I'm not sure these LEDs, if they are interfaced, they should have been connected to some internal GPIO pins. But here there is no such specific mention. You will find such things with various other router models. In fact, we can check. We can do one thing. We can go to the main project website, OpenWRT, and check some other model. Not Xiaomi necessarily, something like, say, Netgear. We take any sample. See, you can see that this one is WND R3800. This has nothing much. Again, we can pick something Netgear. We pick some random model and see if it has any interesting stuff. Yep, you can see there they have that specs, JTAG and other stuff, and let's see if any GPIO stuff is there. Netgear GPIO, can I search like this? change logs, and there is one Broadcom stuff, and yeah, it contains certain library APIs you can see there, and you can see there some GPIO pins and specs about it. So this don't have. I have seen earlier certain routers usually they contain, so this it doesn't have. So that's about it. It's just they added this couple of weights, but then if I don't think so this is going to contribute any signal signaling stuff. This is just added so that it kind of makes you feel it is quite heavy, but other than that I don't think so it has any purpose. I just remembered this thing, what I said about this configuration. In fact, one of this video series of this OpenWRT I have discussed this thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you get some SSH access, at least you can do things like this. See, this thing is a MIPS processor, but again I don't have that thing handy. I could have done some benchmarking on this. I don't have pre-compiled MIPS version of my TrueBench because after testing here I have deleted the entire OpenWRT build setup. So I don't have any more that entire build setup, nor I have that cross compiler. I tried some time after that, but I lost the patience. There was some error and things like that. I just left out. You can see there you will get some interface like that. Perhaps you should able to get similar if we can access either serial port or if it provides any SSH access. But beyond that, if you do ifconfig or something, you should able to find the bridge interfaces and stuff. Since we can't do on this, I'm just showing it as a reference. If you are curious, you can try it out in your home routers as well. If it provides any SSH access, you can try it out. So let's just go to the ifconfig command. Since this thing is down, I'm temporarily using my other phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, so hence the internet is quite slow. Yep, you can see there. You can see the BR-LAN port. This is a virtual bridging port. Hence, it has two Ethernet ports, and one of the port or something is connected to this BR-LAN. Perhaps the wireless interface is also connected to this BR-LAN or something of that device. So I'm not sure. You will find something like that, and in fact you can do bridge control commands, and you can do show bridge and various things like that. I have done that quite often. Yeah, this is the situation over here. Yeah, you can see that I am doing this bridge control show. Hope you can see there here below. You see there I am doing this bridge control show, and then you should find this BR-LAN as the bridge interface, and there is currently only one port is attached to this bridge interface. But in this case, since there are two ports, if these two ports are individual network interface cards, inbuilt NIC cards, then these two ports will be exposed as ETH1, ETH2, whatever it is, and considering this is ETH0, or considering this is ETH0 and ETH1 and this is ETH2, and ETH1 and ETH2 should be a part of that virtual kernel Linux kernel bridging interface. So it should be like a bridging interface. You'll find it like this. Of course, this is something quite often I noticed in my client devices. He have when I was working, he had a sort of MIPS device, which of course we have an exclusive access. But again, I never get a chance to do TrueBench benchmarks on his device, because again I don't have this compiled one. So you can try something like that if you are working in embedded stuff or something, and if you are curious, perhaps you can volunteer, and you can also do this tests. I'm more curious rather than testing your laptop or PC or something like that. I'm curious, if you test any embedded hardware like this ARM or MIPS devices, it will be more useful because we can on par benchmark a single core performance of such tiny devices along with high-end devices like this Threadrippers and Intel Xeons and stuff. You can see there on the top I have this some volunteer from France or somewhere. He submitted a couple of AMD Ryzen benchmarks. So currently I have the best performing CPUs. What I have in my list is these processors with that best single core performance. After that, you can see there I have this Raspberry Pi 2 and then Pi 3 Model B Plus, and then this is something recently one of my student got Pi 4, so I got this as well benchmark. But I can see there are also a couple of ARM devices which are much more higher performance than this. Unfortunately, we can't benchmark smartphones. Of course, you can get this Geekbench scores and Antutu and stuff like that, but we can't compare that with this because I'm completely doing a different way. And even if I benchmark on a smartphone, I need to get a raw user space access, not to do via this Android operating system abstraction. So I can't do that either. So in case if you are working in embedded devices like this, and if you want to volunteer, perhaps you can try it out. A board like this may take around 3 to 4 hours. You can just run it and then go for a break and come back, and then you can find your results, and then you can submit whatever the screenshot you get, or you can just run this, redirect this to a file, and then just once it is all over, you can send me the text file as well. So anything works fine. So hope you enjoyed this teardown. If you have anything to discuss, be in touch via mail. Thanks a lot for joining me. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.